Hello everyone, it's Michelle from Tape and Twine, and I'm here today for the January edition of Tea with Me. I'm trying to throw it in very quickly as I'm alone for a precious short amount of time today, and I'd like to do the filming. I was alone a little bit this week, but it was so dark I couldn't really film. There was not enough light to get to any of these things justice. So today, what are we talking about? Well, just like my other Tea with Me, it's going to go over the similar format. We're going to talk about things that we love in the junk journal world, vintage items. I'll do a couple book recommendations for those of us who like to take older books or books that we can get through other means and use in our own work. I'm going to talk about a freebie that I have for you all, our next update in our shop, as well as a couple neat little products that I have found that I just wanted to share with you. So let's get started. First of all, I always start my tea with me with what tea I'm having today, and I am still going through my tea from Liz. I tend to save it for these, and I today am having the Pickwick Winter Glow. It is still steeping, so I'm not quite ready to sip it, but that is what I am drinking today. I'm going to clear a few things out, bring them back when it's time, and I will start first of all with a project that I'm going to be sharing on my YouTube channel. This here is a calendar based on a Salesman sample, and I have a download for you that's going to allow you to make the project however you choose. You could make it more simple, like I have it here, or you could do it more junk journal style with a little bit of lace and some stamps and things like that. This is a completely free kit, and I'm giving it as a gift to you all. Number one, because I am so appreciative of this community, and two, because Tape and Twine Vintage is going to be selling digis this year, and I want you to feel confident in the kind of product you're going to get from us. So the first digi I'm going to give you is free, and I hope that you'll do the project and watch the video and make it with me. So that's the first thing, and I will go over more of that in that video. Speaking of Salesman's samples, I am sort of obsessed with Salesman samples. Now, what are Salesman samples? Salesman samples are essentially books and kits that were given to traveling salesmen to go into business or to knock door to door and sell their wares. And because we are such a digital community now, these type of things are not really around anymore, but I find them very charming and very interesting. And recently, like I want to say maybe in November, I saw my first Salesman sample for books. And when I saw them, I fell in love and decided that the gift to myself this Christmas would be to try to find a couple Salesman samples for my own collection. And I found two. And I really want to share them with you. So the first one is The Successful Housekeeper. This is a Salesman sample book. So books were sold door to door by traveling salesmen. And I thought there was a typo at first, but then my very smart cousin told me that back in the day when there was a double S, sometimes they would put this like F in there. So I'm not sure why. Maybe it was more decorative. I'll have to look more into that, but I guess this was very intentional. So this is The Successful Housekeeper. It was peddled door to door to housewives because at the turn of the century and in the early 1900s, that's really what a lot of women's roles were to keep the house, and that was their job, and it was treated as a profession per se. And this book is everything about becoming the successful housekeeper. Now, what this each Salesman sample was a little bit different, but they all had similar things. So this particular sample, they always have the sample cover. Now this would be the deluxe cover because it has gold embossing. And I don't know if you can tell, but everything's raised and it's very beautiful. And then this would be the spine that comes with it. That's also very decorative. So that would be for the book that is on the more expensive side. Now, if you did not have the money, but you still wanted the book, you could order this book, which is the cheaper version. You can kind of see it's not raised. It's a flat cover. There's a little bit of damage here from the years, but I don't know if you can see that. So it's not raised and it's just sort of a simple brown cover. And here would be the receipt book, so that if I bought one, in fact, let me rip one out. It's my book, so I can do what I want with it, right? I'm going to rip one receipt out so we can inspect it closer. So let's say I was the wife that bought it. This would be to the person who, the salesperson would keep this piece. And look how old, look at the date, 1808. So this is sold in the 1880s. And it says the publishers guarantee that the book to be delivered, The Successful Housekeeper, shall be in every respect equal to the sample, shall contain 608 pages, 78 illustrations, 4 colored plates, and be bound with double spring back and printed on good quality paper. So this is where you would put which kind of book you wanted, the price, when it would be delivered, in the salesperson. And then this is your receipt to prove that you bought it. Now, the Salesman samples, this is clearly not, 600 pages. So what they do is they would give a sample of the book to the person to inspect. So I believe the 4 color plates are in here, this being one of them. Now, looking at this, I think this is for a much upscale clientele, because I'm not sure every customer could afford making these items or having a book like this. So this is Successful Housekeeper Manual of Universal Applications. So embracing several thousands, thoroughly tested and approves recipes, care, and culture of children, birds, and houseplants, flower and window gardening, and many valuable hints on home decoration. So here are some foods on trays, and this is 1882. And it's dedicated to those housewives who delight in making home a place of comfort and enjoyment. This book is respectfully dedicated. So these are the kinds of things that will be in the book. And obviously we don't have all of this, but it's everything from the bride's cake, the Christmas cake, and the wedding cake, all the way up to beef, lamb, mushrooms, house pests, sleep. And then, of course, I'll show you this. It's decorating the house with curiosities, because there was no television. Don't know if there was radio. I don't think so. So there wasn't really anything to entertain people. So they had, these little curiosities. So here we have like food. Here's the cakes. I want to find the other color. Here's another color panel with the roast duck and the roast hare. But what really intrigued me was when you get to the house pets, look at the little mice. When you get to the sick room, apparently you would bring your child to a sick room. There's health items, the dining room. Okay, so now this is where we're talking about entertaining. I absolutely adored this picture of the fishbowl, the different aquariums and terrariums that you could put together. And then this picture is just fabulous. I mean, again, this is for a whole different cast of women. I don't think the average, maybe this would be the upperclassmen, upper class, wealthier women of the Victorian age, because I certainly cannot see the average woman being able to afford any of the things in here. and picnics were probably quite a luxury. So then at the end of the book is the salesman area, where you would pick the name, the residence, and the style of binding. Let me see if I can find in this particular one really quick how much the book costs. So here we go. The English pebbled cloth, black and gold stamping. I'm guessing that would be this. No, that can't be it. The pages of the prospectus sample book have been selected from all parts of the completed volume. 3 elegant color plates, printed from the new electrotype plates, finest quality paper. So English pebbled cloth, black and gold stamping, $2.25. Briar colored oilcloth, marbled edges, $2.50. So English pebbled cloth, black and gold stamping would be this. I guess the other one, there doesn't seem to be that much difference, does it? Unless they're just trying to show you that the brown book would be done like this. This would just be the color, because I would expect a bigger difference in price if there was going to be a lower quality book. So as you can see, it's just a fabulous book. I love the way the salesman has everything they need in one place, and I just found that just so interesting. This one is a really interesting one. This one's Shep's Photographs of the World, and this one is even more elaborate. So you have your what I believe is a really pretty cover as is, and then keep in mind a lot of people were not traveling the world and didn't really have a window into the world. So this book was photographs of all over the world. So this would be, I presume, the back of this book. Let me see, I'm gonna take a quick pick. Oh, so there's several different options here. You have this option here. You have this option here, which is the most basic, and then inside is the binding for this book. That would be the spine. And then inside, and then the fanciest one is in the back of the book. Look at this. How interesting is that? It's amazing, isn't it? So this is the fanciest one, and this is the spine for the fancy book. So you have some options there. So then the insides are all the same. I love that the type is 2-color, and it's Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, North America, South America, and the Pacific Islands, the world as it exists today. And it's published in Philadelphia, sold by subscription only. Let's see what date it has on it. 1891. So basically this is the world, and these are all pictures. And again, this isn't the whole book, because this book is the books that's going to be sold is over 500 pages, and that's far from this. But look at this. There's Scotland, the bridge in Scotland. There's castles in Scotland. We have Belgium. Here's the Arc de Triomphe in France. Spain, Switzerland. A lot of these pages have been removed, unfortunately, by somebody who owned the book. But again, I was going more for the salesman sample aspect of it than I was the book being complete. Here's a rickshaw in Japan. And just imagine if you were in Philadelphia or anywhere on the East Coast and the 1800s, what is the chances that you would ever see a rickshaw? So I'm sure these pictures were fascinating and poured over for many, many, many times. This was, I think, what did I just say? What did I just say the date was? Because this is the Brooklyn Bridge, and it says it just opened in 1883. This is 1891, so this isn't even 10 years after. So it's very interesting, Washington, D.C. So now we go in the back of the book, and, it talks a little bit. Look at it's saying that all of these pictures together would have been $100,000 to collect those photos. So the extra fine silk cloth, silver colors, marbled edges. The cheapest one is in teeny tiny print there. Cheapest edges, plain edges, $3.25. And then we have the extra fine silk cloth, gold, silver, and colored marble edges for $4.50. The half Russia antique gold center black stamp library edition with the marbled edges. The full Russia deluxe gold center black stamp royal edition for $7, and the special edition with the sealskin leather padded sides and the word photographs on the side only, stamped in gold, title on the back, a superb book, picked sheets, special binding, color dark brown, no equal for beauty. This giant and valuable book will never be for sale in bookstores, and the desire it must purchase it by the agent. And that's $10. Now, back in the late 1800s, $10 was quite a bit of money. So then we have the subscriber's name here. I'm guessing there might have been some other stuff that the salesman had with him with this book to show these deluxe ones, because this here, I don't believe, I don't see the big black seal. This has the rickshaw, but so I'm sure there was some things that supported that more. And then on the back, I thought this was really interesting. While he was in your home, he might as well try to sell you a family Bible. And it has all the different things for the Bible. So I thought I wasn't going to be interrupted, and then my oldest son came home from college because he forgot something. So here I am, an hour and a half later. So the light's a little lower, and my tea is gone since I drank it while he was here. So I'm brewing myself a cup of coffee. But we are now in the part of tea with me, which was soon to be coffee with me, on the book reviews. So every time I do a tea with me, I try to come up with a couple of books or a book that is either inspirational as a supply or material because of how beautiful the book is or the illustrations, or just a good recommendation for people who tend to share the same aesthetic as we do. And I think I have two good examples, old and new, here. The first one I actually found in my recycling center, and I just sort of stumbled across it. And it's called His Eye is on the Sparrow, which is actually a old hymn and a religious hymn. And the book is actually an artist book by Linda Maron, or Marin. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. She's out of California, and this book was published in 2013. But the cover is what caught my eye, obviously, because it appeals to a lot of the things that we mixed media and junk journalists enjoy. And when I went inside, everything about this book is the same aesthetic as what a lot of us prefer, from the really beautiful end papers to the Victorian artwork, the cart postal. That's all very much up our alley. And then she specializes, it's put out in Eugene, Oregon by the Harvest House Publishers, and everything in here is like quotes and writings, inspirational writings, but it's all collages with birds and botanicals, which is really up our alley. They're very beautiful. There's great quotes. Now, obviously, you could cut up this book and use it as background in mixed media and use some of the quotes, but I almost think this would be a better inspiration book since there's so many beautiful color combinations and palettes in here, as well as the way in which she does her collages. So I find that this is a terrific inspiration book. It's small and it's got beautiful colors and pages and illustrations, and it's lovely. New, it's about $10 on Amazon, but you can get a used copy for much lower, half that price. And it's a nice little book. It's a great little gift book too for Happy Mail. It doesn't take up that much room, and it's small, but it definitely would appeal to folks that enjoy the same things we do. Now, the next book is a bit older of a book. It's not a very old book. It's called The Frampton Flora, and many of you may be familiar with it. It's based on artwork from the 1800s in England by a certain family. It would be the family of, let me look this up, the Clifford family. And the Clifford family lived in Frampton Court in Gloucestershire, England. And like a lot of Victorian women, they did paintings of their environment. And when their collection was found, these two women's artwork were put together, and it sort of is like a little nature study of the area around where they lived, because everything that they painted and drew in the two styles in which they did it was all things that were in the countryside or around their home. So the pages are a off-white, kind of a creamy color, and they would make beautiful pages to use in journals. They would also be wonderful just as a book to learn more about the area, type of artwork. It's not exactly the same style, but it's in the same vein as Edith Holden. So if you're an Edith Holden fan, I think you'd really enjoy this. Obviously, it was very dirty. So I would definitely recommend this. Now this new is $32, and it's a pretty big book. The pages are really nice. They're not gloss, and they're on the thicker side, and the colors are very pastel and muted, so it's a lovely book to use. $32 new, but I was finding it for about $6 on Amazon. So, and that's with shipping, so that's pretty good. I'm sure Thrift Books and some of the other places would be another place you can find it. I happened to find this at a thrift store for $1, which was a really great find. So my two recommendations this month is The Frampton Floor by Richard Mabey and Linda Marone's His Eye is on the Sparrow. Both of these would be just great for your library as reference material for your art, but also they would be great if you're also looking for really high quality images to use in your artwork. So that is my recommendation. Now, last but not least, oops, that was my tea bag holder. Hold on. The last thing I want to cover today is our upcoming Etsy store update. Now we have tons of things that are going to be in the store, but I just wanted to share a few things with you. I'm actually going to fold this up since this kind of got a little dirty from that book. I want to show a few things to you that we'll have in our store. This is certainly not everything. We're working on that right now, but I wanted to give you a sense of the assortment of items that will be going up. First, I wanted to show you one of the things we are working on, which is when we go to estate sales and go picking, we look for really beautiful old books. And we've started making little stacks of antique books. These 3 books happen to be from the 1800s. They are all in very good shape for their age. I mean, you have to figure they're 150, 170 years old. The bindings might be coming away from the book block a little bit, but the boards are good. There's some staining and some wear, but look at that beautiful writing from the owner, Willie Stark. And this happens to be a little daily food for Christians. It's a little like spiritual reading book that goes through every month. It's just the sweetest thing. Look at the size of that. The second book and third book were owned by the same lady, Georgiana Buckham, in 1882. And this one, look at the litho on this. Is that just amazing that that's like 140, what is it? Let me do the math there. 82 and it's 1920, so what? It's like 138 years old. It's called Complaint or Night Thoughts. And this is actually a poem, and it's, if you look up what this poem is about, it was written in the 1700s and a hugely popular poem. It's got gilded edges. The boards are in great conditions, very clean for being 140 years old. And then the last book is called Sacred Poems by Willis, and it's got a great cover with gold embossing, again, gilded pages, a little bit of foxing, but the boards are in great shape. The spine is tight. It's pretty unbelievable for the age. 1852. So we're talking 100, almost 170 years old this book is. It's beautiful, it's small, and it's again, got great, it's got poetry in it. The pages are so clean. I mean, look at that for the age. It's pretty amazing. So we put these 3 books together, tied them with a vintage piece of lace. And not only are these just wonderful little keepsakes, but they make a beautiful addition to a shelf or a bookshelf. They look sweet on a bedside table or a little table next to a plant or something. So they're, you know, they would be great for decor or for use, but a wonderful little Valentine's Day gift. So we'll have little book stacks that we put together from time to time. This will be our first book stack that we're going to include in the sale. We found this treasure last summer, and I think I posted about it, and I thought it would make a very beautiful gift for Valentine's Day. It's a embroidered ring, so that is stitched on a piece of fabric. I don't know the age at all, just that it's vintage. It's gold tone. It certainly is not gold, and it is adjustable. So this would definitely be a costume piece of jewelry, but it shows really well. It has great heft to it. You know, it doesn't feel chintzy in any way. Now, I have no idea. I can't tell you, you know, what it is made out of. I think this is a rosebud. I think it actually goes this way. And I have short, stubby hands, so it's not going to do the ring justice, but it really is a great little gift for somebody who does needle work, somebody who enjoys vintage, and it's just very Victorian, very sweet little gift. So that will be in the store. And then we're going to have some Valentine's ephemera packs, and this is just an example of one. We're going to have a cute little covering made out of music sheet, and you'll be able to see that online, but we're going to try to keep the price point pretty low on this, but each one will have 3 vintage cards in it. This particular one is a red and black themed Valentine's Day card set, and it has just a really sweet red and black, and a lot of them are signed, but they're in great shape. They're cute and vintage and kitschy, and this particular one is very, very like 1940s. And so that you'll get 3 cards. And this one you get a bingo card and a lot of red and black type of game cards. Like this is from Clue, this is from a word game, Curl Up with a Good Book, this is from Password. So you have a lot of little game cards. You have that beautiful applique lace that we have. We have a heart napkin. Some kits will have doilies, some kits will have paper doilies. There's a little crocheted piece here, some tickets, some tags and punches. These are vintage. Some bingo markers, some red price dots, just everything red and black. And this is a great inspiration kit. It would be terrific for the basis of a greeting card journal as the cover. You know, you could do a little stitching and have pockets here and put some pages in. That's really sweet. It would be great for junk journals. It could be good for an inspiration pack. Essentially, cards for Valentine's Day, just a great little ephemera pack. So you can look forward to our Valentine's Day. Oh yes, and I do have a whole collection of Valentine's Day postcards that I will be scanning, and hopefully that may be our first digital download that can be done out of the shop. I'm going to be working on that in the next week, so let's hope I can get that done. This would just be an example of a couple. They all have, like, some of them have writing, some of them do not have writing. Like we have just Victorian ones, gilded ones, beautiful colors. So I'll be working on that in the next week as well. So here's the thing. leaving this tea with me, please visit the Facebook site or the Instagram feed so that you can sign up for our mailing list so that you can get the digital DigiKit for this. Look forward to our Etsy restock. That'll be happening in the next week. We will be putting announcements for that on our Instagram feed and on Facebook. And hopefully you'll look up some of these books that I showed you. And if you are ever just wanting to look at interesting things, type in Salesman samples. There's Salesman samples for everything, and they're really interesting little kits that show a little dynamic of the past. So I hope you enjoyed this January edition of Tea with Me, and I hope that you have a wonderful January, that you're sticking to all your New Year's resolutions, that you're getting some time to be creative. I appreciate you spending some time hanging with me, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.